This is Marketing Uncomplicated.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This conversation supports the mission of Uncomplicated in so many ways by translating marketing concepts into clear, practical advice that entrepreneurs and small business owners can understand and use. Rob is the co founder and CEO of Flying V Group, an independently owned digital marketing agency that has served more than 450 clients across industries, including healthcare, finance, real estate, renewable energy, and car washes. Such a variety of different industries. But I want to dive in and talk a little more. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining. We're so excited to hear from you.
Yeah, Sasha, thanks so much for having me on the show. Really appreciate you just doing this, and to the audience that's out there listening, really hope you'll be able to take away. I think my goal with a lot of podcasts is just some practical stuff, right? Or some stuff that you can take
Absolutely.
and maybe test or easily deploy quickly. But yeah, super excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
I do want to mention a caveat because I love these kind of stories and I think everybody does. So, Rob and his co-founder, they started with a $15,000 built-in company into multi-million-dollar founder-owned agency with 34 people globally right now. So there's a lot, to learn from this grow. Today, Rob and his team now manage more than 5 million in annual advertising spend across clients, and that is globally as well. So that's where I want to start, Rob. Is I want to start with what was starting with the $15,000 bet.
Yeah. Really was probably frustration, I'd say, more than anything, right? I mean, I know the three of us, myself, Brennan, my brother, still, yeah, the operators of the business today, 10 years later, we were just kind of bouncing around from job to job. And I know I was too. And, we were always kind of entrepreneurial. We had built a mobile app together, early days of college, always kind of had different, I don't want to call them schemes. Schemes is probably the wrong word, right? But we had different things we were doing.
Yes.
Yeah, ideas. I coached high school football. I did the video at the end, sold it to the parents, right? So we were always just looking at new, unique ways to start something. And yeah, I think it was really just an opportunity built off of that frustration and seeing maybe we should just take a bet on ourselves and focus on the service side to where it was our time or how we could help solve people's problems and challenges. So like early in the day, I remember our website actually, like Tyler, my brother, has a background in accounting. So we started with really like, we're going to be consultants. So Brennan had social media background. I had website SEO background. My brother was a public auditor. So it was like, hey, you need a website? We'll build you a website. You need us to file your taxes? We'll file your taxes, right? So it really just came out of wanting to help people. And then our time for money was like, okay, well, it's low cost early on, right? We didn't have to build anything. We had already built a mobile app. We burnt through $75,000, $100,000 of friends and family and our own money and time, right? But this is something where it's like, hey, our effort is really what's going to drive it. We built our own website. We started to create our own content. We were doing our own sales meetings. We're setting up the business on our own, right? So it really was just sweat equity, bootstrapped, and really helped us to value the dollar, which now when speaking to CEOs, CMOs, owners, founders, I mean, that's what we lead with, right? Is our jobs to make sure every single dollar that you give us, we are maximizing to the nth degree in terms of what it is you need us to do for your business.
Yeah, no, I love that. Before we dive into that portion, because I think that I always like to talk about, maximizing the dollar spent. And I think it's extremely important that, people focus on that because there is a lot of digital agencies that, well, we'll say that, they don't go the extra mile for the client, right? But I do want to talk about bootstrapping versus outside investment because I think that this is a really interesting conversation. You grew the agency while remaining independent and founder owned, which I think is fantastic in so many ways. Obviously family and friends investment, but not necessarily going out to get external, investors. But what did bootstrapping teach you about discipline and profitability and decision making?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I mean, 15,000, right, was myself, Brennan, Tyler coming to the table, right? So it was truly like bets on ourselves. I'm glad we were able to scrounge 15 between us, right? But it really was early, like what we had. But for me, it taught me all about really just you have to show up.
Yeah.
Early days, especially if you don't have resources behind you. We obviously didn't have a lot of help in terms of just ourselves. You're building a brand from nothing to where there's nothing it can fall back on. There's no past experience, there's no case studies, nothing else. So you're really the only line of defense, right? You don't have investors, you don't have additional capital you can call on, or partners that are investors or strategic partners, etc. So I think what you have to do is you got to get up, put both feet on the ground on the days when you're walking into that client meeting and you're at the point where you're so busy but you don't have the infrastructure and you miss deliverables and what's coming, right? But I think those are the days where you learn. You face the music. You say, hey, I'm going to get this done right. I'm going to figure it out. And sometimes it doesn't work. And then you learn off of that. And then guess what? The next time when you're in that situation, you've already built or closed the gap that you had prior because you knew what the gap was, right? You're there, you're in the trenches, you're having those conversations, and then you're having to deal with a variety of different problems that as an entrepreneur, you never know what you're going to wake up to. And a lot of times it doesn't even, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, especially with client agency work. Sometimes it doesn't even have to do anything with us, right? The economy turns in the industry. COVID was a huge one for us, right? People's doors just closed overnight. And there's nothing we can do about that. We didn't do anything wrong. There's no playbook for that. So what do? You show up and you try your best. You put in a good effort. You take the calls, you respond to the emails, right? And you move forward with your pillars, right? And so for us, it's centered around data, profitability, transparency, accountability, communication more than anything with our clientele.
Do you think founders behave differently when they're spending their own money versus an investor money? And we'll hope that there's no investors on these calls.
Yeah. Well, I'm both, so that's also helped as well.
Yeah.
Part of what I saw in the agency work is we do really good work as a vendor, but we had a couple instances where, and great, happy, they got acquired and exited. Someone else comes in, and who was the first one to get chopped? We were. And in certain instances, I mean, we were a big reason. We were the growth, right? Or we were a huge part of that infrastructure that helped them raise money, generate cash flow, prove concept for the business. And so that's where, I started to actually write checks into deals. We'd be able to get a better understanding of who are the founders, who are the people behind the business. So coming from that investor angle, 100%, right? You really want to look at like, what did this person do in the first 0 to 90 days when they had nothing? No one believed in them. They had no concept. They had no sales. They had no money, right? And if the answer is they immediately went and asked people for money, that's probably a red flag, right? So we look at like, what did they build? How did they think creatively? What type of tenacity did they show? That's a word I've really liked lately, to figure out and solve problems or open up new opportunities, or just what value could they bring to me as an investor? Like, hey, I also, I've seen your business and what you're doing, and I think our business can fit in this way in, the ecosystem of what you're building. So there's a big difference, and you have to be careful, right? To where when you do get into those Series A and beyond, when you're talking about big dollars and institutionalized money, if that person doesn't understand the value of the dollar, or doesn't know how to measure it or track it or align with what it should be spent on, then you're right. Yeah, you're just burning cash even faster, and the problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So want to definitely dial that in very early, and there's definitely a difference for sure.
Yeah, and I love your word tenacity because one thing that I always say in entrepreneurship is that every day we're at work, you're like a rubber band, I mean, it stretches and it constrains, and it stretches and it constrains, and that like
Mm,
really plays a nice role also in being tenacious because it's showing up, right? And
mm,
really just moving through everything and having that that courage, the spirit, and really like the grace to move forward when things aren't going the way they can or or in our minds should be, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's that also plays a huge role in a lot of day to day.
Yeah, and entrepreneur, I mean, what I've learned over the years too is, I mean, it's a very, very lonely path. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't talk about that enough. And it does get glamorized in the media, with the big raises and the big valuations and these big exits and, all these new companies that are starting up with early momentum. But, a lot of times they do break down because, hey, it's lonely because you're the only one that actually understands all the problems within the organization, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
when you are showing up daily, so that's where that tenacity comes in. You have to have that just to know there's going to be a new problem every single day. And moving forward, they're only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's just knowing how to mentally set yourself to show up. Consistency for me, routine is important. Aligning health habits, working out, eating well, getting good sleep. It's even more critical the more and more you have on your plate. And then being able to walk into what sometimes can be, a very tumultuous situation. You have an employee leave, you have legal problems, you have client chat, whatever it may be, but you're able to set the tone for the rest of the organization. You're calm, you're cool, you're collected. You trust that you're going to be able to get over these problems because you have shown that consistent behavior to do it. So, yeah, it's as much mindset as anything. And I think, writing yourself with how you do things, the people that are around you, coaching for me has been huge. 9 years in, all of a sudden, we assumed we were partners for the first 8 years and we assumed executive roles. All of a sudden, I'm a CEO and I'm like, I don't know how to be a CEO. So
Yeah.
I joined it's called Vistage Peer Advisory. And now every month I have a room of CEOs that have more experience than I will ever have that
Yeah.
have been through some of the problems and challenges. And you have to think that way, problem solving consistently and
Yeah,
constantly.
absolutely. We talked a little before we hit the live button, in terms of, before becoming an agency CEO owner, you were a high school football coach.
Yeah,
And I think that there is an amazing line. I don't watch football personally, not because I don't
sure.
like it. I just have never understood it. But I
Sure.
love the football players and I love the tenacity that they bring to the field. And I love
Hmm.
there's so many good quotes that come out of them, as I scroll sometimes on Instagram. And I think because I've clicked on so many now, it's like I know some of
Yeah,
the football players names, have no
sure.
idea who they play for. But I
Right.
think that there is like a thin line between what they do in terms of showing up and being on the field that really is a nice kind of, play into entrepreneurship and business. So, what did coaching teach you about leadership, accountability and building a team?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. And over the years, as I've reflected, I see like, wow, a lot of those things that I was learning through coaching, you really have applied into the business. And so, yeah, I was fortunate to coach for some really good programs here in Southern California. We had lots of good success, all different levels, all the way to the top high school levels, and saw all different systems and programs and coaches and styles. But the one that stood out to me the most was at a school called St. Margaret's, small school. And I remember when I showed up there, I thought they were running like this secret program, right? They had won 3 CIF titles in a row, our commission here. They had won a state title. And it's like, what are these guys doing that no one else knows that makes them so good? And they only had like 400 kids in the whole school, right? And only half are boys. So they only had maybe 20, 30 guys on the roster. And I'll remember my first day there and I sat down with the coach and I was so excited because I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn all these new plays, new strategies, new this, that, the other. And he gave me one piece of paper and it had 20 plays on it. And I came from a program that maybe had like 200 plays. And I
Yeah.
was just shocked. And I go, this is it. And it was, 6 of these types of plays, 6 of these types of plays, and 6 of these types of plays. But they said, hey, what makes us different is we focus on the details, right? We simplify things. We break it down to a level that based on who we're working with, high school kids, they can understand it. They can play fast, right? All we need them to do is, hey, show up, put in the consistent reps, make sure that what you're asking them to do consistently is not too complicated, right? So they have clear direction. And so it's just been little things like that, right? To where simplification a lot of times, just doing things the right way, having a way, having conviction in how you do things, even if someone else comes in and says, no, you should be doing it this way. It's like, okay, I respect that. But guess what? We do it this way for this reason, and we believe it works. And that's more valuable than anything. So, and then, yeah, with football, I mean, really, our best teams, you could tell they were going to be the best team because of the way they worked out in the weight room during the summer, right? So it wasn't about how talented or who was on the roster. It was how well did they gel? How good was attendance? And then, you know, the reps that were being done in the summer when it was later in December. And yeah, football is a very physical game. We weren't tired, right? We were getting stronger as the game went on. We were still working collectively as a team because we showed up, right? We bonded. We got to know each other's strengths, each other's weaknesses. I learned how to coach, right? I can't coach somebody if they don't show up to practice, you know, and some of the best athletes in the world, you hear them not liking practice, but it's like, well, practice is really where you separate, even at the highest levels, the elite in professional categories. So yeah, it's just the same stuff we've taken into the business, reflecting back. And, you know, I read most emails that come in. I respond quickly. Slack, I still am in Slack on operational stuff. And, hey, guys, let's make sure, you know, we're on top of this. Or, hey, we forgot to put that report on our letterhead. I mean, just little stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because that sets the expectation for
Absolutely.
everything else that we do moving forward.
Absolutely. Many businesses, I want to divert now into a little bit of, you know, the marketing that you guys do.
Sure.
And, you know, sitting on the at the beginning, you know, as a marketing strategist, you know, before my clients go into doing what you know, you guys do for the clients, small businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, founders, they feel overwhelmed by all of it. SEO, social media, email, paid advertising, AI, and it just like it keeps slapping them in the face. And all the other channels that are available. Where should a business owner begin when they do not have the time or the budget to do everything?
Yeah. I really think it's discovery of their own business is where they need to start, right? And it's funny. It's like you're 10 years into the business, and I'm about to reference like early day article that I wrote that like turned me on to SEO because we didn't have any money for paid ads or whatever. And I just wrote the questions that I would ask potential clients down, put it as a blog. It ended up being the 41 questions you should ask, generated tons of inbound leads, etc. But I continuously go back to it because the first section's discovery, right? Who are you as a business, right? What are your values? Who is your customer? Right? What do they look like? How do they buy? Go back and look at your last 10 customers and go through, where did they come from? What was the sales process like? Who handled the deal, right? Who talked to them? How many times did they have to talk to them? So I think really getting an intimate understanding of your business before you do anything, and then that will help you to prioritize, okay, where should I focus if it is marketing efforts or whatever resources you do have? Because that's the beauty about marketing too. It gets a bad rap because anybody can do it, but it's also, that's the beauty of it, is anybody can do it. You can start to figure out like, okay, I know that my people buy on LinkedIn. I'm going to post once a day on LinkedIn, and that's what I'm going to commit to. And then I know I maybe need to talk to a consultant, but I want to focus on LinkedIn because that's where I identified my buyers are, because I'm B2B and I need to talk to so-and-so in these types of businesses, right? So I think that's where, you know, I really recommend them. You know, to your point, there's so many things out there, and this is the tricky part. There are so many things that work too.
Yeah.
There really are. It's just knowing when to use them, how to use them, whether or not they even fit into how your business operates. A lot of times we'll find mismatches in that marketing is actually working. It's sales that has the issues. They don't know how to get people on the phone. They don't ask the right questions. They don't follow up promptly. They don't have automation maybe helping them to do those things. So they're just getting inundated by leads and they don't know how to sort through what ones they should or should not be spending time on, right? Next thing you know, you got an administrative problem on your hand, not a marketing problem. So yeah, I think that's where, again, ask yourself the hard questions. What am I trying to accomplish? Who am I trying to accomplish it with? How do they buy? Where do they buy? And then I think that will help you prioritize maybe where you start to look or who you talk to, right? And where you focus your time or resources that you do have, regardless of how big or small they might be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the concept of, going back and looking at, because clients tend to not do that, right? I mean, it's crazy to me because it's like the research and the data is sitting there.
Right.
And I think they just don't know how to leverage it and they don't know how to utilize like what is in their back pocket.
Agree.
And that's information that is readily available and it costs nothing to them. So it's just, pull it all out and reconfigure it and figure out who's who in the zoo and then chase after them times 10 or whatever.
Yeah, you nailed it, right? Or and sometimes I get a bad rap, and I've had some battles with clients of like, oh, you don't want to try new things, or you don't, and it's not even that. It's just you also need to have a systematic or a strategic approach to how you might be doing certain things. I'm not saying billboards are a bad investment. I'm saying billboards can be costly. And if you don't have proper tracking or you don't align with what are you trying to get out of it, then you might just be burning money. And it might make more sense at the time to let's at least put it into something where we will get data back because we don't even know who our customer is right now, right? Don't throw a billboard out there, target inbound search, or again, whatever the makeup might be. So we just want to make sure, okay, based on what budget the client has, it's properly allocated, it's diversified, it's doubling down on winners, it's quickly able to isolate and kill off losers in terms of platform or ad copy, creative, message, email, pop up. It doesn't even matter what the variable is, right? The process and the optimization remains the same. And then you're tying that out to measurement, right? And results. And this is the one I think early on to local business, especially because they don't know what to measure, is just measure something. So even if you don't know exactly maybe what your lifetime value of the customer is, then start by, hey, how many more calls are you getting this month versus the month before when you weren't doing the marketing? And can you measure that? Great. Then use that baseline. And then you can get more sophisticated as time goes on and you have clarity in what's working, what's not, because you're actually measuring it against something. And you'll be shocked how many agencies and businesses just spend money on marketing. And I'm like, okay, did it work? Well, yeah, maybe. Did you put a number down that you were going to? No. And I'm like, oh, just even having that alone is going to make marketing more successful. So
Yeah,
just
100%.
little stuff.
For sure, for sure. What do you think then is the one thing business owners tend to overcomplicate that could actually be made much simpler?
Yeah, it's action more than anything, right? Like, we do a ton of blogs. So we do I think last month we did like 435 total like published blogs across our clients. And the ones that perform best, it isn't necessarily that they have the best content, is that they have the best process to get things actually approved most efficiently, or they're posting at a higher cadence and they're not worried about always trying to build the perfect blog or the perfect ad or the perfect video. And I think a lot of times for business owners too, and I get it, founders, entrepreneurs, it's ego driven, right? They don't like the way they look or they don't like the way they sound, or even if they're not in it, they're like, oh no, people aren't going to like the colors we used or the graphic we and what happens is then they don't publish anything, right?
Yeah.
Or they are slow to publish. And so I think that's it. It's really like paralysis analysis. Like, stop overthinking some of this stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, you have no idea how the market's going to respond. Even if the market responds a certain way today, what's to say that they're not going to respond completely differently 30 days from now? And then
Absolutely.
you really want to talk about it. It's just algorithmically. If we want to get into the science, you need to be actually just distributing at a more frequent cadence, because it gives you higher opportunity. It gives the algorithm better understanding of the content and material to then, when you do continuously post future, it's actually targeted to the proper audience. So when you only post once every single month, it has no idea who to put it in front of. And so what does it do? It guesses. No one responds. No one likes it. Random people are getting it, and it just sits there, right? And oh, my
Yeah. Yeah.
content doesn't work. I spent all month on this post and it didn't go anywhere. Marketing doesn't work. No, you're just your approach to marketing doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
What it really
Absolutely.
is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, so in that sense, how can a small company create that multi-channel strategy? Obviously, being that, all of these multi channels and the channels have to be a good fit within where they are in their business. But
Yes.
talk to me a little bit about how they would do that without spreading its budget and team too thin across the board. And that of course depends on where they are. Are they just starting, or are they in
Yeah.
growth mode, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But at least the
I'll-
through line is pretty
Yeah.
similar, I'm assuming.
Yeah, of course. I'll give you two examples too, just to show how I think there is a common thread in a lot of this, right? We'll do B2B and then B2C. So B2B, and this is what we do. We take our calls that we have and we use AI note takers on them. Very simple. Everybody's heard of them. They transcribe it. They take notes from it. Well, what do we also do with that? Anytime we have a nice, fun, exciting, strategic call where we solved a big problem or challenge, that's what we use to then generate content for social media platforms, right? So now all of a sudden, when our company page is posting on LinkedIn, that content is as raw and real as it gets, because we're just actually extracting the story out from a real meeting that we had either with the client, or maybe it was a prospect, or sometimes I like to make content around just strategic partnership conversations that I'm talking about, right? And hey, here's why I'm having this conversation with this person. And I, publish through the entrepreneurial lens and things like that. So that's one way, right? And then, yeah, you have to, use some tools. There's plenty of them. You can take that content, upload it, distribute it to LinkedIn and X, or, you take it even further. I have some LLM automation that will not only take that transcript, but it'll template it into a LinkedIn post. It'll also break that up and put it into 4 or 5 X tweets. I think tweets still around. People still know what that is, right? That you can post and distribute through there, right? And then if you really wanted to, you get somebody that could go in and even just edit the call. If you do it via where we're doing, Riverside FM is an amazing tool, and you could start to distribute pretty quickly there. So B2B, and then B2C, I think the one I like, we have a home remodeling construction. They mandate their project managers, anytime they're on site, walk through the house and take video of what's going on. And what have they done? They were already doing it because they were using it for quality assurance components and project management reasons. But now they're just sending that information to our team, and we're able to then go edit video, right? And you could easily just do that type of stuff when you're on site, make sure you're just kind of documenting and bringing to life the things that you're already doing, right? So we don't want it to be, oh, I got to go and record. No, just record the stuff you're already doing and then figure out how to maximize and leverage that. And you're just going to be repurposing, and you're cutting down the cost of production of that content, because you're able to get it out in so many different ways And you'll figure it out, start to build process around it, right? That's a lot of stuff we're doing, is really just what is the process to take this content and get it distributed as many places as possible.
Yeah, no, that's great. I want to talk a little bit about your 30, 60, 90-day growth framework.
Sure.
That you've used across a multitude of clients. I mean, let's say hundreds of clients.
Yeah.
Can you break that framework down a little bit for the audience?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks for asking about that as well. So what we saw when we started to look at client data over the years was a majority of our churn came in the first 90 days. So that's where we immediately said, okay, we need to look at what we're doing in those 90 days. How are we transitioning from a close to onboarding team? That was an immediate drop off, right? I would go, and mainly it's me. I'd sell this, that, the other, and then I'd be like, okay, everybody, here you go. And we didn't have like a formal process for me to take what could be in certain instances months of conversations and strategy, and then consolidate it, compress it, and get it to our team for actual action. So we focused on that. What are we doing in those first 3 to 5 days when they close? All right, we know we need to get access points. We need to get reporting going. We need to notify the team and get proper information from the sales group over. So then in that first 30 days, what we're doing is we're making sure we're as prepared as possible. And then we're aligning, and I've mentioned some of this stuff with the client. What are we measuring? What are we tracking? A lot of times we'll have to install advanced analytics or get additional GSC, Google Search Console, or clean up their tag manager, or get pixels firing, etc. And then by probably that mid-mark of that first month, we are starting with active campaigns. So by the end of that 30 days, you've got your tracking, you've got your reporting, you know what you're reporting on. We got our meetings set up for scheduled cadences, and we're getting content and information into the market. 30 to 60, validating. So we obviously put together a plan. We said we're going to target these people. We're going to use these keywords. We're going to use these ads. What's working immediately, right? Are we getting good initial indicators? Are they bad? We a lot of times will have to coach the client through learning phases, giving it that time to actually distribute. But then we're seeing, what's winning, what's not, and then monitoring through that 60-day. And then that 60 to 90, that's really where, okay, pedal to the metal, right? We're either proving and starting to scale. We're already maybe adjusting off of some assumptions that we started to run that aren't working the way that they worked. Different services are also going to have different KPIs or benchmarks. So our paid media, if we haven't generated a lead by day 60 or a sale, something is wrong. We've probably already identified that in 30 to 45 days, right? But then it's like, okay, is it SEO work that we're doing that's longer term? Are we getting more impressions to the website? What are the leading indicators that we need to work on? What else is our content doing that we're putting on the blogs before it does start to drive that organic traffic? So, and then at that point, we really are analyzing, like, do we need to make changes? We provide optionality. That's why we do we have SEO, GEO, paid media buying across all different channels. We have content, email marketing, because sometimes we're not just going to keep hitting our head against the wall doing something if it's not working. And we need to go to the client, like I said, face the music and say, hey, I know, we ran 3 months. Let's say it's 4 months, right? We're generally working like 6 to 12 months agreements. We will change. We're recommending we put this service in its place. We ramp up maybe content deliverables or double down on stuff that is working to make sure that our client's happy with the performance that's being generated. So it's just kind of how we operate and the framework that we use.
Love it. I mean, systems, frameworks, processes, they are there for a reason.
100%. And that's where we found it's been a challenge. That's been very hard work, because while it's fun that we get to work with all these clients, different shapes, sizes, we also realize, like, wow, it's actually even more important for us to have a consistent process, because we are doing so many different things. So whether we're doing SEO or we're doing paid media, we're always working towards measurement and alignment, right? SEO has to attribute their work in the same way that our content team does, in the same way that our Google Ads team does, right? Might look a little bit different, but again, same principles in terms of how we operate the business.
Yeah. So I want to dive in a little bit to ROI and marketing ROI. And I love the statement I'm about to say because I'm 100% with you. But you've suggested that many agencies are not completely honest about marketing ROI, and this is something that I have seen over the course of working internally with companies and then hiring out. Also having clients come to me and having to rehabilitate them back into they didn't really steer you in the right direction. So being a little bit of that
Right.
underqualified, maybe more qualified psychologists because we're in the weeds with them and really supporting
Seriously.
them.
So true.
But
So,
what
yeah,
are
we need,
it is
can
so
we coin
true.
that together, please? Yeah, I'll take that to market immediately. Yes. Marketing psychologists.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It is a thing, guys.
it is.
What are agencies and sometimes business owners getting wrong about
Hmm.
measurement?
Yeah,
And
I
let's
was,
not talk about those stupid impressions that these agencies love to talk about. Oh, well, we got you
yeah,
4 million impressions.
yeah,
Yeah, but I didn't
yeah.
get one
Yep.
conversion.
Yeah, you nailed it. You got that vanity metric, right? I think that's what a lot of times marketing gets that bad rap, like snake oil, selling smoke and mirrors. And it is frustrating when you see it. And it's something that even the agencies, and not everyone's like, you have varying degrees, of course, right? But we were seeing, okay, we'd even come into the ones that maybe were, yes, tracking ad spend and that return, but they're like not even factoring in their agency fees, and their agency fees are more than the ad spend itself, right? So when you factor in the profitability, and so that's the key is profitability. And you hear people talk about this company did this much revenue and 50 million in revenue. Well, yeah, but it cost them $49 million to generate that 50 million, right? I'm more impressed by a business that's doing 25 million and taking home 10 or 15 million, whatever the margin might be. So a lot of times, yeah, either they're on that spectrum where they're showing you impressions or they're showing you even clicks too. With SEO, you think about clicks, but it's like, okay, yeah, the clicks, but the clicks need to lead to a call, a form submission, right? And if they're not, then it doesn't matter that we increased your traffic by 100% month over month at all. So yeah, and then you're getting into ROAS, return on ad spend. But again, if you're getting a 2x ROAS, sure, you're 2 for 1, but how much is the agency fee? And a lot of times those don't get calculated because they're just pulling those ROAS calculations directly from Meta, which is just giving you the ad spend, right? So yeah, and that's where I think for us too, it's a lot of fit. Like marketing agencies need to be a fit both ways. Like they need to be a fit for the client, and then good marketing agencies will only work with clients that are good fits for them, in my opinion. So what I mean by that too is we need transparency. Like we straight up tell them like, hey, if you won't give us insight into your numbers, then it's going to be really hard for us to know or drive the results that you expect out of us. Or we need to make sure we align on, if you're not going to tell me how much money these emails generate, how much is each email worth to you then, right? And we'll use that as the barometer to then ensure that it's definitive. Or you're getting into this, they kind of work, they kind of didn't, and in reality, like people just really don't know because they're not properly tracking, they're not working with an agency that is driving there. So yeah, we're looking at like, what's your lifetime value? What's the profit margin? Where are our numbers? How much did it cost for the media buy? How much was our agency fee? You're factoring that into your COGS to get you to, the margins that actually matter for a business. And that's why, well, not all businesses exist to make profit, but they should,
Yeah.
if you ask me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be a nonprofit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And even nonprofits somehow, somewhere are making profit. Let's be honest.
That's an interest. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Um, so then what I wanted to ask, from a growth standpoint, why can rapid growth sometimes hide some serious problems in a company's marketing or profitability?
Yeah, because I think if depending on your model, so we have a big retention model, right? So sometimes if you're bringing in new business through marketing and advertising, but you're also you're just scaling up, and we've experienced this. Like we had a big inbound flux of organic traffic, and we were able to close quite a bit of it. But then it led to like, oh no, we got out in front of our skis operationally, right? We didn't have enough coverage with account managers, or our technical team got bogged down because you didn't, kind of control the leads, the demand. And so that's where we really push, again, go and fit the client as someone that, thinks about marketing and advertising as an investment, right? You're going to do this every single year, no matter what. It's a core belief. You understand the value marketing provides. Good businesses need good marketing, and then you're going to consistently monitor it. You're not going to overreact, right? You're going to take a zoomed out view and approach, because then that's when we can get more predictable behavior, right? We can scale much more effectively, because if we can, get out further from conception, that's our best clients, right? Our best clients are the ones that have been with us 5 years, 6 years, and the multiple that they're getting on not only the ad spend, but also just our familiarity and ability to make changes for them to generate results. It's hard to replace that, especially the further out you get. So, I think the pain points that might uncover is that, like, are you ready operationally? Sales still tends to be a challenge, especially if you're higher ticket items, right? Like, can you get them through that sales cycle? You need to see how long is that taking? Are we bottlenecking anywhere? Are we actually getting people on the phone? Because you can generate all the leads in the world, but great if you're not converting them. Do you have a people problem? You're generating all these, and I mean, those are the fun conversations with CEOs that I have. Like, hey, you're a VP of sales. Yeah, no one likes him. and
Yeah.
the reason you're not closing any deals is because he's kind of not very good at his job, and he doesn't follow it, right.
Yeah,
So I think
sadly.
those are things, but sometimes it's good too, right? You use the marketing to find those things. Just make sure you have control, so you don't overextend. You can pull back we're always trying to help clients with that too. You want to basically have a diversified marketing spread, and you can ramp up, ramp down, pull back, adjust as necessary. In a perfect world is what we're trying to build.
Yeah, control is key. Moving on into SEO, you describe GEO as the new SEO, and I love this because, I saw a New York Post nonetheless of what they were saying, and then the guy wasn't even, I should say, not even the guy, the writer or the journalist wasn't even a marketer, and the headline was SEO is dead.
Yeah,
I hate this.
I think I saw it.
Yeah.
I do think I saw it. Yep.
Yeah, I rebutted it on my LinkedIn because I just thought this is what makes entrepreneurs, business owners confused, right? Is when you have people like this that write these type of commentaries, because SEO is not dead.
Not at all.
Things evolve, and they grow into, it's like an octopus,
Yeah.
not necessarily that octopus all of a sudden start growing extra arms, but you have a multitude of different tentacles, and sometimes that tentacle evolves into maybe a different type of task, right? And that's where SEO is going right now, is with GEO.
Yep.
But I digress with a lot of my very strange analogies.
I
But
talked about an octopus the other day in a similar framework. Yeah,
you are a marketer
exactly
after
right.
my own heart, Rob.
You're exactly right. Yeah, Yeah, it's not dead. You're right, but it looks different, and that's where I think people are getting confused. And what's happening is, if you're just taking average search volume across, and we see it, right? We see it across like 4 or 5 different industries all at the same time. Is there's just less search volume in general, because instead of going to search, typing in search, get your list, click, come back, type again, click, come back. People are just spending that time on these LLMs and AI, right? So they're going through, they're doing their research, they're having conversation, etc. But once you get to the end of that, it is making certain recommendations, or it's already done research as a part of that process. And how does it do that research? It goes to Google, searches, clicks. It's just automating it, right? It's doing it faster. So like one of the first things we did in GEO was we just focused on what searches or what prompts did LLMs actually have to go look for. So that's how we started with our content topics. And then now what we're seeing is like medium distribution. And I was talking YouTube, right? Like videos are becoming a huge LLM citation score. So instead of blogs or content pages that you would normally do for SEO, it's just a different medium. And why? Because it's harder to fake video, right? It's a lot easier now to scale up content pages or scale up blog pages. And the LLMs sometimes do. That's when they hallucinate, right? They get bad information. They get, they make up information, whatever it may be. So we see the video as something that like grounds the trust and the authority for the LLM to match that up. So, but going back to SEO being dead, all it does is make those SEO clicks even more valuable because there's still huge volume. There's still just as high intent. And then not only that, but those ones that are coming as referrals through GPTs, LLM, even Google's Gemini and AI, the conversion rates have skyrocketed, right?
Yeah.
So, or when they get the result and you're the result, what are they doing? Searching your brand. So now your social media is more important. Your branded keywords become more important. We're seeing more direct traffic that is replacing what was maybe that lost search traffic. But if I had to bet on any horse in this LLM race and AI, I mean, it's still Google, because all those LLMs, Claude, ChatGPT, they're pulling still from those main sources, right? The websites themselves. Google's the best search engine that exists. But yeah, you're going to see a variety of different things at play in terms of how people are getting information, or maybe they're using Claude, right, for more development stuff or more workflows. TBD. We'll see.
Yes.
But I think there's still just as much opportunity in local SEO, national SEO, and the reason being is
absolutely
flashy light syndrome, right? It's like I'll have people come to me like, "Oh, I need to be on ChatGPT." You have not even looked at your local business profile for 10 years. No, you do not. You need to build your local SEO. You need to
get organized locally.
You need to build your website the right way, right?
Yeah.
So slow your roll. The LLM stuff,
For
some
sure.
people are just getting way ahead of themselves.
So. I like that you said that, like you said flashy light syndrome.
Yeah, flashy.
Yeah, it's so true because, I'm working on the strategy with like an IT company, and he was like, we also do. He's like, everything that we implement is AI anyway. He's like, but we have like an AI service like section. I'm like, but why? And I'm like, you guys are AI first anyway. And he was like, I know, but he's like, it's what like the general public understands and what gets them excited. And it's just wild because, I blame it on media, right? And
Sure.
We just have to be smart enough to educate ourselves to understand, like, yeah, if I do all of this stuff, and to your point, I'm not cleaning up my Google My Business, my website, all this kind of stuff, then every effort I make is just going to ricochet off.
It's going to be more. It's going to be more expensive because that real estate's going to be at an even higher premium for what I just referenced, and not only that, but they'll probably never get there in the first place because they don't already have the strong foundation. It's like, how do you think those citations are getting in there in the first place? Domain rating, domain authority. Do they have social media followers, right? Can I verify that they're a real person? That's why podcasts and events are, event marketing, right? Just who are people in rooms. And then I'm seeing LinkedIn be really strong because you're sharing and it's like, oh, that person actually knows that person. They're not just some AI. I'll never forget. I was following an account like inspirational or maybe entrepreneurial, motivational, something like that. And I loved all the message. But it took me a month, or I don't remember how. And I realized, oh my gosh, it was all AI video of this gentleman. And even though the message was good and yeah, sure, I'll take that. I want to go find it from someone that's not just producing AI avatars and videos, right? I want to hear someone saying it and having a conversation like you and I are. Or maybe I want to see them saying it in person to know that it's actually them, to know that
Yeah.
it's actually their thoughts, their ideas, not just regurgitated or not just referencing a bunch of you know what. So, yeah, the more we get into AI and artificial this, artificial that, I think it's supply, demand, push, pull, human trust, authority, experience, right? An LLM can't talk about the 10, 20, 30, whatever the number of years of experience a consultant or a executive has in the field, dealing with people, dealing with real problems, real
Yeah.
challenges.
No, I completely agree because I mean there's a lot of like I think there is this rush and this fear of, where will AI go, because there's this uncertainty and this unknown sort of void of a space that, we're all kind of moving so quickly towards, but at the same time I feel that because it's moving so quickly, the I wouldn't necessarily call us the powers that be, but I don't think marketing is going to fully be taken over by AI. Neither am I going to, like, I don't want to be sold to by an AI. I don't want a salesperson that's an
No.
AI calling me.
Like
And the
customer
human,
service 101, right? Everyone hates
yeah.
talking to you want zero zeros. Give me someone real.
So AI is not going to do any better, right?
No, no.
And then it's the human factor of being able to tell a story, the human factor of being
Yes.
able to know, like, the search terms that a human is looking for, and so on and so forth. Yes, what I love about AI is that it's just making things a lot more automated, turnkey, faster. We're moving in an amazing direction where, things can happen so much faster than they have in the past, but
Right.
there still needs to be a human that is adapting and adopting what AI is bringing today, because an owner is not going to learn how to do all of that. I mean,
Right.
and it
Right.
takes a lot of work. I'm
Right.
I'm building something, and I've been sitting here on weekends just building it. I'm talking to Claude, and then I'm going into Claude Code, and then I'm going into like GitHub, and having
Yeah.
conversations with the AIs and myself. And it's like at some point the entrepreneur is going to be like, I don't have time for this. I need to focus
And
on my business. Somebody's
yeah.
got to handle it, right?
Yeah. And I mentioned it the other day. I think it was like a LinkedIn post, and then it's one way conversation too, right? Once you stop talking to the AI, the conversation continues in your head, but the AI does not until prompted again, right? And so,
Yes.
like, that's that human element that will never be replaced. And again, it's just going back to trust. Who's who's the most basic? Who's real? Who's not? Who's saying what? How? Who are they? Where did they come from? And just people like doing business with people, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the biggest decisions are made. Why? Well, I like that person better than the other, right? That was the final decision, or I could just see myself, hiring. For me, a lot of it, really, what it comes down to is like, can I see myself sitting with this person on a day to day basis, right? Can
Yes.
we bring them
Yes.
along to a lunch? Can we bring them along to a random meeting? Are they going to represent the business well outside of the office? I don't need to worry about them when they're in the office and I'm looking at them. Like that's not it. It's how are they going to carry on the conversations that we have in these walls, and that's what AI can't do.
Very true.
It just can't.
Very true. I like how you explain social media in the sense of, uh, you know, you have said businesses should forget about followers and focus on what social media contributes to revenue. Unpack that a little bit for me, because I think you and I are on the same page about this, because I really want to know what your thoughts are on what social media actually should be doing for a business.
Yeah, I'll use an example in an area, influencer marketing. So we do not do info. We've dipped our toes in it in the past, and I think again, the firms that do influencer marketing well, it is extremely powerful, right? If you can find the right influencer that aligns with the audience and the network, and you have a group that knows how to connect the brand. I don't know how they do it. I can't do it. I don't know how. But the issue we always had with the influencers well as well and the campaigns that we did was the numbers. We would have situations where we do a campaign with someone with 25,000 followers, and then you do one with someone that 150,000 followers. But the 25,000 followers, it was just more aligned. They had a better audience. They had a more engaged audience. Their audience just trusted them more than maybe the influencer that had more followers for a different reason, or maybe the wrong reason, or they just didn't know who their followers actually were. And what we constantly saw was how was pricing being done? How many followers do you have? I'm like, well, this is so backwards. And so we'd run these campaigns, and then you'd get the data and it'd be like X amount of people saw it. And it's like, well, yeah, more people actually probably did see the post for the influencer that had more followers, but it wasn't better, but you were paying a premium because that's, again, what it was being measured on. And so we'd constantly go back and be like, hey, what about you post, and based on what generates, how many even to the click level, let's say, right? Because you're not even getting clicks most of the time. It's just people see the story or they see the post. They never click. They never even get to the funnel for the opportunity to purchase or find out more information. And we just constantly would get pushback, right? And there's negotiate this, negotiate that. The reports we would get would just be screenshots because, I mean, the platforms themselves they're not really built to report in those ways that you would need, the way like the ad managers are.
True.
So yeah, I think like, again, social media. What should you do as a small business owner? Like, put a good link in your profile and track that link on a monthly basis. Did we get any clicks from our social media to our website from the one link that we know we have? And every post you do, use that as your link. Don't post 5 links, 10 links, 20 links, because then, it just gets impossible to track. Or if followers are your goal, great. Set that as your goal. And then, but be careful. It's like, well, what are we getting out of it? Or if you are generating followers, what's the next step? All right, now you have them as followers. Are you trying to get them to download something? Do you want to get them to sign up for an email? A lot of they'll get them to their email lists, right? And then they send them offers, or they send them other stuff that makes it easier to buy and purchase or monetize that actual audience. So similarly there, again, concept remains the same. Social media, great. What are we measuring? Does it make sense? Does it align with the client's goals, their pain points? And sometimes that has to change. We're not always measuring the same things. Sometimes, it's the same, but it is a case-by-case basis as well.
Yeah, it's the gold mine also, in switching channels, to what I always say about email marketing. When clients just, they completely like, just not disregard, but don't even focus on it. But it's, you're building your list to sell to your list. Email marketing is the cheapest.
It's not flashy. It's not flashy, right?
But it works.
Direct mail still works well when done right. Why don't people do it? Because it's old. It's not new. It's not flashy, right? But you're right. Like, and the more and more noise that get, online, because it's getting harder to track. You got more bots, you got more privacy blockers that don't even allow you to track certain stuff, or you're just getting limitations coming down from the government, wherever it may be. So it's like, just simplify it, get as many emails as you can, to your point. And then it's like, okay, well, if you need to schedule calls, email them. And if they've given you their email, right? So you can even simplify it down to that. Go try and
there's some kind of interest there. Exactly. And I love that you brought up bots, because the bots are becoming heavier and heavier. And, just as well with SEO, I mean, it's guarding your forms, with ensuring, I think now, like 25 to 30% of traffic that hits your site is bots.
It's crazy.
And it's going to get crazier.
See it. I watch it. Like we get good traffic activity. And I mean, I know it's not real traffic. I mean, you could see, right? The time on site, the different locations that it's coming in from at any one particular time, and then just search pattern, behavior, etc. And in certain ways, it is the bots just getting that information and then serve it through another channel. That's all it is as well. And that's our point about GEO. And okay, if it has to go and search for the question, that's what you should be writing about on your site to optimize for LLMs right now. because anybody that's coming out and telling you, oh, we know certainty, no way, no way. There's no way they can have certainty that, they know exactly what's going to move the needle with these models. And especially with how quickly every week you got a new version rolling out. Like Claude's had to restrict versions based on how power. So those all have different directives, right? Different scraping capabilities, to where you'd be chasing ghosts. So right now, what's our approach? Diversify, right?
Yes.
Start to think about what mediums LLMs are using. Video, maybe, okay, instead of 20 blogs a month, do 15 blogs and a few videos if you can, or whatever the number might be, right? And then monitor and see. And if it's not working over a period, there's a lot of the testing element to marketing, which if you're uncomfortable failing, you're probably not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. Or even being an entrepreneur at that point.
I think anything, right? Anything.
Yeah.
Same thing going back to coaching. Practice, right? A lot of it, hey, try, fail, see what you
exactly.
can do. Push
Exactly.
yourself.
Push yourself indeed. Rob, you and I could go on for hours.
Yeah, I know, right?
But we have a signature closing where we ask one habit, one myth, and one word, and it's our fire round chat. So
Cool.
whatever comes your way, just answer.
Okay, that sounds good.
What is one habit that has contributed most to your success as an entrepreneur and leader?
We recently started this, and I'm actually really proud of it. We have a bi-weekly meditation session, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. The entire it's virtual because we have our team in house, but virtual as well, or remote as well. And it's designed middle of the week, middle of the day. And I told our team, hey, this is a priority. You can move calls, you can move client calls, because we want to prioritize. Sometimes you need to take that break. And agency work is a lot of weeks by the end of the week, right? You're like, oh my gosh, okay, we got there. Hopefully no one's calling me after 5 p.m. on Fridays, or, just clients. So yeah, that's been a big one, really just resetting for myself. So meditation and doing it consistently, and just spending some time to slow down, decompress, and it's never too good and it's never too bad. That's what I always like to say, right? You'll be able
Very
to figure
true.
it out.
Very true. What is one marketing myth you wish business owners would stop believing?
One marketing myth yeah, okay. One marketing myth that I wish they would stop believing is that just because someone actually shows interest means that they're going to buy, or that like the deal is over. So, and I think this goes back to our like relational selling. Just because they submit a form doesn't mean they're just going to jump on the call, give you their money, sign up for their services. So, and that's where inbound, it's funny. It's like, hey, that just starts the chase, right? And so I think it goes towards anything, like even if it's, oh, we generated traffic, don't get too excited, right? Know really what the goal is and what you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I think it's that one. Is you got to build through relationships, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're, even if it's a product, right? Why does someone buy a product online? They read reviews. Other people said it was good. They see it and they trust it, or they tried it and they trust it. So yeah, that would be the one. It's just the start.
Yes, relationships are key. What is one word that describes what every business owner needs in order to grow, and why did you choose that word?
Grit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right now, maybe not, but there's a lot of stuff going on in our organization, a lot of good things, but there's also a few things, that are just heavy lifts. And it's like stuff that's happening that doesn't really have effect on day to day, or doesn't have an effect on the actual team unless I let it affect them, right? And so that's where sometimes, you just got to show that grit. Talked about tenacity, right? Just to power through and keep showing up. And it's tough. It is. It's tough. And some days you don't want to. But if you're ever in that, I find like action, activity, just go through your email, hammer it out, answer 3, 4, say, hey, for the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to answer emails, no matter how hard they may be, no matter how many I get, just simplify it, keep
Yes.
it simple.
Yes.
Keep
Yeah.
it simple.
Keep it simple and get to the hard stuff first.
Yeah, there you go. Priority.
Yeah. Rob, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time on the show, and we will link everything down below for folks to get in contact with you, learn more about what you guys do, and to follow you on LinkedIn. So thank you
Awesome.
again.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sasha. This is a lot of fun.